On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come step into centuries of history that await in Scotland. Castles steeped in legend, walk along cobblestone streets. Come share the warmth of stories passed down through generations. This is a place with a past that is fully present today and all yours to explore. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
But in tonight's adventure, we'll talk more about the UAP and UFO situation with Disclosure. New movie coming out, of course, you've probably heard. Steven Spielberg, a very interesting movie coming out the date of the 12th. Disclosure. That's what we want. And we pose this question to the audience before we bring on our special guest. What, if any, other UAP UFO case other than Roswell really intrigues you? And a gentleman who can answer those questions, I'm sure, is our very special guest and friend, Darcy Weir, a director, a producer, and a writer on the many facets and mysteries of the UFO, UAP world, the phenomenon that is, and much more. You can check out Darcy by going to YouTube. Check out YouTube Movies for Secret Space UFOs. And a little bit more about our special guest. Darcy Weir is on a mission to bring the world's most captivating mysteries, UFOs, cryptids, Bitcoin, and beyond into the spotlight. Over the past 2 decades, he has crafted over 15 feature-length documentaries, each accessible on Amazon Prime and Apple, making these enigmatic topics more accessible and shedding new light on them for the general public. And with that, a hearty welcome to Darcy Weir. Thank you for being with us on the Dr. Sky Experience. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you, and thanks for staying up with us.
Yeah, Dr. Sky, I'm happy to be here. Steve, always a pleasure. Looking forward to having an in-depth conversation with you.
Absolutely, and all the people out there, because, a lot of people criticize the concept lately. They're saying, more stuff about UFOs. I've had it up to here with this information. Nobody's telling me the truth. But then again, on the positive side, I listened to so many people, and I said, listen, that are saying, there really is something to all this. And this is something interesting I'd like you to talk a little bit about. You've just returned from one of the most amazing events in the desert, Contact in the Desert. And what it is, I'd like to describe it and have you give us a little tour, because we weren't able to be there in the beautiful deserts of Southern California. So since 2013, as you know, Contact in the Desert has been the world's leading event for those interested and intrigued by UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrial life. The mission there is to provide a platform for open discussions, cutting-edge research, and first-hand experiences in the field of unexplained phenomena. Each year, thousands gather to connect with experts, share stories, and dive deep into the mysteries of the universe. Their website, if people would like to check it, contactinthedesert.com. Darcy, you were there. Talk about this. I mean, this is probably one of the most prolific years because of all the excitement. I don't think there's been a time, maybe other than the early 70s or so, when the UFO story then, no UAPs, was at the forefront. Tell us your experience there. It must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was a wild environment for sure. I've been to a number of Contact in the Desert conferences in the past. It's really kind of like the way they set it up. They have multiple stages, and you have to sort of choose which stage you want to go to at a given time. Kind of like a music festival, right?
Nice, yeah.
And they have so many different speakers. I mean, they had Jacques Vallée back. They had Dr. Eric Davis, who, one might note, he worked on these special access programs, apparently with UAP materials and such. And then you had Tim Gallaudet, former two-star admiral with the Navy, Jeffrey Nusatelli, who's a new Air Force security personnel whistleblower who was at the Vandenberg Air Force Base when multiple UAP incursions were happening over their airspace. He came forward in Dan Farah's new documentary, Age of Disclosure, and just a whole host of like other really interesting speakers. And everybody was talking about the same sort of stuff. We were all talking about the Department of War UAP release information recently. They had two tranche of documents and pictures and videos released. So it was hot news, and this year could be the year of disclosure, literally, from the president and his administration.
I'm hoping that is the case, as many people out there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that really, we talk about things like national security, maybe reasons why we're never to be told the truth on this. But Darcy, this has been going on at least, in the United States, worldwide, who knows, maybe back to the Egyptians and even before with ancient civilizations. But the 80 or so years that this whole story has been withheld from people, I'm fascinated, and I threw that question out to the audience at 1-800-848-9222. What, if any, other UAP UFO case other than Roswell really intrigues you, ladies and gentlemen? But let me ask that question of you, because you do this so much and so well, and I mean this sincerely, people. If you check out Darcy Weir's contributions in the world of documentaries, I think you will be pleasantly surprised, and why wouldn't I be? But of all these particular stories, give us what you think would be, if you were standing in front of an audience, and you are here on this particular platform, a Theater of the Mind, what would be one of the most intriguing ones to you, other than, let's say, Roswell? I want to hear what you think.
Well, I think there are multiple events that have happened in worldwide history that seem to point to some kind of higher technology than the public is allowed to know about. I'll bring up Westall 66, which happened in a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, called Westall in the year 1966. Broad daylight sighting, hundreds of witnesses, students and teachers, so adults and a very healthy student body, saw a craft touch down on the ground, land behind two schools, a primary school and a secondary school. And the Australian Air Force was involved with that. There was a cover-up. It's still talked about today, but we don't have any clearer answers, but they seem to be flying saucers, right?
Yeah.
You do have the Tehran incident in 1976 over the city of Tehran in Iran. Nighttime, 2 UFOs observed. They scrambled jets to try and shoot this down over that busy city airspace, and the jets got completely scrambled. They couldn't even eject, and they got their instrumentation only when they were a mile away from the larger object. The city had a complete blackout, when this incursion and interception was going on. Really strange stuff, and the American Air Force was over there being debriefed the same week, saying that wasn't ours. Yeah, I mean, so many incredible cases like this that have happened throughout history, mass witness sightings, and, Phoenix Lights, 1996.
Yeah, that's where I am. I missed it. It's a shame. I mean, not to steal your thunder on this, but March 13th, 1997, I get my phone's ringing off the hook. And I've told the story again, Mr. Humble, on this side of the microphone, too. Everybody's calling me going, did you see it? And I said, see what? I was watching a rerun of Seinfeld, and I'm honest. And I have to laugh because the phone kept ringing and everybody wanted to know what the heck it was. Why? Because obviously doing certain things in the media here in Phoenix for years and around the country, people were curious. And one of my friends who was a 727 pilot with thousands of hours as a commercial airline pilot, he calls me from Scottsdale and says, you're not going to believe this. I said, try me. He said the thing was about 5,000 feet long and slowly moving with no engine sound. And I'm like, there's a credible guy, Darcy. I mean, what the heck could that have been? Still, what? One of the most amazing unsolved incidents in this whole UAP, UFO kind of story. That's incredible.
Yeah. And the same year, in 1996, in Brazil, you had the Varginha incident where a whole city that's, nearly 1 million people today, but hundreds of thousands back then, saw UFOs over the airspace. And eventually they allegedly had a craft crash in the countryside and beings escape, which, were later apprehended. One of these soldiers, that Brazilian military that apprehended one, touched it with his bare skin and died due to...
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, what the doctors said in the coroner report was that his immune system completely failed within days of touching this thing. And it looked as alien as you can get. Large red eyes, 3 sort of Finnish type bumps in its large head. It had a larger cranium, no hair, kind of a greenish, dark green skin, and they were spindly and thin. Not wearing any clothes either, and seemed to be like exuding sort of like a frog-like slime from their skin, which might have been what caused this soldier to become sick. So that was all pretty well documented by James Fox's Moment of Contact documentary.
Interesting.
And there's so many cases that just seem to be mind-boggling like that, not including, the Roswell incident, which Stanton Friedman sort of repopularized in the late 70s, early 80s, kind of brought that story back into the limelight. And, Philip J. Corso wrote The Day After Roswell, and it's had a huge telling of multiple different witnesses, nurses that were on the Air Force Base, all kinds of personnel, people that helped clean up the wreckage, farm workers, city sheriff, so many people that can attest after the fact that something happened there.
But Darcy, this is so interesting, and I'm on your side of this equation here. I want to be a believer. I am in extraterrestrial life, not just from the astronomical side, which we won't go into right now. Obviously, with the plethora of stars that are out there, if they're like the sun with exoplanets, why and if not, why not having planetary systems with some sort of life? But what's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining the Dr. Sky Experience, we thank you for joining us as part of your weekend, and we really appreciate you. Darcy Weir, he's a director, a producer, a writer on many facets of the mysteries of the UFO, UAP phenomenon, and so much more. If you'd like to check him out, go to YouTube Movies, and you can find a plethora of documentaries under the Secret Space UFOs category, and we'll get into a conversation of that. You, ladies and gentlemen, are the reason we're here. 1-800-848-9222, and I pose a question all the time. This one, what if any other UAP UFO cases, other than, let's say, Roswell, really intrigues you? And by our special guest, we're all getting intrigued. Here's one that really bothers me in the sense of this was so obvious, according to witnesses. Let's go to July 13th, 1952. Washington, D.C. a UFO incident where UFO objects are seen flying over the capital of the nation, of course, Washington, D.C. A New York Times headline quote, I should say, flying objects near Washington spotted by both pilots and radar. Air Force reveals reports of something, perhaps saucers, traveling slowly but jumping up and down. That's bizarre, and all this stuff has been held under wraps for so long. What do you know about that one? That to me is so intriguing. I've seen pictures over the Capitol.
Well, I've seen some pictures, but then I know that there's a fake animated video that is a recreation of what people had seen that night. It seems interesting, right? This is post-World War II, so there was no reason for an adversary to be, flying over the Capitol buildings like that. It was at a pretty, extreme time of peace. I don't think the Russians had anything like that.